Game engines are that invisible scaffolding, we'll say. It fits. To every digital world we explore. They're what turns imagination into interactivity, code into creativity. But what happens when that tool becomes too powerful or too convenient for the hands that wield it? Let's go ahead and get into this. Unreal Engine 5 is a technological marvel. Nanite enables virtualized geometry, millions of polygons rendered effortlessly. Lumen delivers dynamic global illumination, making light behave like it does in the real world. It's built to push boundaries, but for many developers, especially smaller indie teams, it's, pushing them off a cliff. You see, performance issues have plagued UE5 titles across all platforms. Even high-end PCs struggle to maintain stable frame rates, and for smaller studios, the cost isn't just technical, it's existential. The engine's complexity demands deep technical knowledge, long compile times, and a team large enough to wrangle its subsystems. For solo developers or smaller teams, it's like riding a bicycle with training wheels that eventually fall off. Now, not everyone blames the engine itself. Some argue that the poor optimization stems from the workflow decisions, building for ultra-high-end hardware first and then scaling it down later. But that's exactly the problem, you see. UE5 encourages a top-down approach. Build big, polish later, and for many teams, that later never comes. UE5 makes it incredibly easy to add high-end features with a few clicks. You don't need to be a graphics programmer to get something visually stunning on the screen. But that ease comes at a cost. Many developers, especially new to the field, rely on plug-and-play tools without understanding how they impact performance. The result? Games that look great in editor previews, but crumble under real-world conditions. Now, even Tim Sweeney himself has talked about this engine, and he's been quoted as saying that we're not building an engine for indie developers. We're building it for AAA developers. Now, that cuts deep. That statement really does cut deep because it's not just a design philosophy. It's a dividing line. Even minor version upgrades can introduce instability. And when optimization is left until the final stages of development, as Sweeney himself has even admitted, it becomes a bottleneck that many teams, including especially the smaller teams, can't afford to fix. Now, in comparison, older engines, they might not have been as flashy, they might not have been as easy to work with, but they were lean. And what they did do was respect the hardware. UE5? Not so much. It seems with a lot of Unreal Engine 5 games, not all of them, but many of them, because of the poor optimization or the poor knowledge that some of these developers are lacking in some of these studios, we're getting a lot of issues. And it seems like UE5 demands top-tier GPUs and CPUs just to maintain a stable frame rate. And I'm not talking about really high frame rates. I'm talking about Outer Worlds 2 at 60 FPS on a 4090 GPU. Make it make sense. And here's another consequence to UE5's ease of use, let's say. It's made it possible for studios to hire cheap labor. Developers with little to no technical background can get hired because the engine handles so much under the hood. You can literally drag in assets, toggle lighting systems, and even build levels without even writing a single line of code. Blueprints is Unreal's visual scripting system, and now what it does is it allows for non-programmers to create gameplay logic. Combine that with the asset packs you can buy from the Unreal Marketplace. Well, now you have entire games that can be created from small teams with very minimal programming experience at all. And while this sounds pretty, democratizing for sure, and just dang cool, let me add. It's also in danger of just creating a game that is most likely to be very unoptimized. Now, in that scenario I just gave to you, the problem there is the reliance on automation or its ease of use. When teams skip the fundamentals of optimization, it usually leads to fragile, bloated, and hard-to-scale games. And when their game's performance tanks, by that time, it's usually too late or too expensive for them to even fix. Epic's own guidelines for real-time rendering optimization span dozens of pages. They cover everything from texture streaming to occlusion culling to shader complexity. But here's the catch. Most developers don't read them at all. They just assume that UE5 will handle all of it. And sometimes it does, until it doesn't. You see, optimization is a specialization. It's not something you just stumble into. It's something that you study. And UE5's visual-first workflow often masks the need for that expertise until it's too late. Now, let's talk a bit about another concern that I have that's kind of lurking beneath UE5's dominance here, and that is, of course, the possibility of monopolizing the industry. As more studios, large and small, adopt Unreal Engine 5, the industry risks becoming dependent on a single tool set. And when one company controls the pipeline, well, creativity can be constrained. For example, some publishers require UE5 for distribution deals or any funding at all. And what that means is that developers that prefer Unity or any other custom engine might have to abandon their workflows, not because of the quality of their game, but because of market share. And I think we can all agree that ain't right. Now, this type of gatekeeping can stifle innovation, period. What it does is discourage experimentation with alternative engines. And also, it centralizes the powers in the hands of one company. Picture this. If Epic decides to, let's say, change licensing terms, raise royalties, or restrict features, thousands of studios could be negatively affected overnight. Now, for indie developers, the stakes are even higher. They don't have the luxury of massive Q&A teams or performance engineers. They're artists, designers, storytellers, often wearing all three hats at once. And UE5, while powerful, just doesn't scale down easily. This is the paradox here with UE5. It's free, it's accessible, it promises to deliver AAA visuals to anyone, but it's not built for everyone. It's built for studios that could afford to tame it. Maybe the future isn't chasing realism and these hyper-realistic graphics. Maybe it's remembering why we started to play video games in the first place. Games just aren't about shadows and shaders. They're about stories, systems, and moreover, soul. Now, I'm not advocating for all studios to stop using Unreal Engine 5, even though I don't like the mass adoption based on everything I've said here today. But what I am advocating for is the use of other engines that empower creativity and innovation rather than, say, cinematic spectacle. Tools that scale with ambition, not just budget. And workflows that will reward understanding, not shortcuts. If you liked the video today, please hit that like button. If you didn't like the video today, hit that like button. Thought I was going to say dislike, right? No, please hit that like button. Anyways, it's been a minute since I made a video, so I appreciate each and every one of you who stuck through this video, watched it till the end. Appreciate you so much. And honestly, I don't know, I might have the bug back again, making videos. I know I do my podcast here every Tuesday, 4 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern Time, the Games Talk Live podcast with my co-host Hargeet Chani, where we talk about everything gaming, but I don't know, I need to do videos again. Let me know in the comments, should I make more? And did you like the video? Let's talk about UE5. Let's do it all Write in the comments. And until next time, game on, people.